Hello, welcome back to another episode about plants. And today we are going to talk about the plant known as Casuarina scientifically. While the common names include sheoak or Ironwood, it is a small genus of plant with around 17 species known to science that is native to southern New Guinea, most parts of Australia, some islands in the South Pacific, and New Zealand. In terms of the morphology, they've got needle-like foliage that are segmented with these line-like structures, and those needle-like foliage are actually their photosynthetic stems. They got rid of their leaves in order to help them save water, so they can better survive droughts. Their thin, segmented stems kind of resembles that of the ephedra, which is a genus of shrubs that are found in the dry temperate regions throughout the northern hemisphere. In terms of how they reproduce, they've got separate male and female reproductive organs that are found in separate trees, and these are what the female reproductive organs look like. They were meant to be pollinated by the wind instead of any insects, and the fertilized female flowers would eventually become seed cones, which kind of look like pineapples, and those scales on their cones would actually open sideways instead of opening up and down, and they also contain a large amount of seed in each one of them. Those seeds are usually tiny and light, where they are attached to a small wing-like membrane on one side of them, and their seeds are typically distributed by the wind, which can travel a significantly long distance. And this is what the juvenile Casuarina tree look like. They are typically slender and narrow, and they often grow in a pyramidal form, just like a spruce does. And most species of Casuarina has the potential to grow into these tall, slender, upright trees, except for the species of Casuarina Glauca, which stays in the form of a shrub for its entire life. Well, matured Casuarina trees were often being mistaken as pines because of their overall resemblance, and they do look really similar when being viewed from a distance. Well, the most obvious difference between casuarinas and pines is that the branches on casuarinas are alternate, and the branches of the pines often grows as opposite to each other. Another interesting feature of this casuarina tree is that the bark is often really thick and accumulating, kind of resembles that of a cork oak tree. And this feature tells us that casuarinas came from a natural ecosystem that has got a lot of wildfires as a result of lightning strikes and also seasonal droughts. A thick, dense bark is an indicator of fire-tolerant plants found in ecosystems throughout the world. In terms of the ecology, casuarinas are often the pioneer species of an ecosystem. They often prefer to grow in really poor soils. They also germinate on top of land that is recently destroyed by things like wildfires, storms, or volcanic activities. They have to be grown in places that are relatively exposed and it has got a lot of sunlight, because they cannot tolerate even a small amount of shade. On the other hand, they can also provide habitat for a variety of other life forms. They are particularly likely to become a host plant of migratory seabirds, climbers, and parasitic plants. They can also survive in places that are really dry and also places that has got a lot of salt in the soil. And this is the reason why they are particularly common in sandy or rocky coastal areas. So they are without a doubt really important to the native places that they came from. And in terms of the uses of them by humans is that historically they were often being harvested for their timber, and they can also be planted as shade trees or being planted in a large scale for reforestation purposes, because they can restore forests really easily due to their fast growth rate. And they were also being planted as trees for windbreak or hedges alongside buildings or farms. And nowadays, the species of Casuarina Equisetifolia is by far the most widely cultivated species there. It originated in southern New Guinea and northern Australia, and now it can be found in subtropical coastal areas throughout the entire world, such as southern China, parts of Southeast Asia, parts of India, parts of Africa, some parts of Mesoamerica, and the islands in the Caribbean Sea. They are that widely cultivated by humans due to their tolerance of storms, harsh weathers, mainly because of the fact that their narrow, slender foliage does not catch a lot of wind. They have got a fast growth rate, and they are also hugely tolerant of poor soils. And the greatest concern about the life uses of these casuarina trees so far is that they can be quite invasive. In fact, they can outcompete native plant species in a lot of ecosystems or places that they're being introduced to. Because their seeds can travel long distances, they don't require any specific conditions to grow, and their seeds also germinate really easily. This is why they can be found in recently abandoned urban areas, recently abandoned farmland, or even the cracked areas of train tracks or highways. And nowadays, they are already being listed as an invasive noxious weed in certain areas. My advice would be that casuarinas are without a doubt really useful when it comes to restoring forested areas, but they have the potential to outcompete a lot of native plant species that has got a similar growth habit and adaptations. So, they can be quite invasive, and at the end of the day, it is not a plant that I would recommend people to grow. Once again, thank you for watching.